Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing good, had a great week, and listening to great music, and enjoying all the things that we love doing, which is pretty much music related, spinning vinyl, and enjoying the things that we love. So I hope everyone had a great week doing that, and getting through another work week. My week was good, pretty uneventful this week. Didn't have a lot going on work-wise. It was pretty quiet. It was just one of those weeks where there really is nothing to report, so I can get right to it. So I hope everyone else had as uneventful and kind of low-key week as I did, because it was really quite nice. Okay, well, this week we're really switching gears from last week's Electric Light Orchestra discography and ranking. Complete reversal this week, and we're going to talk about the wonderful collection and musical catalog of two of my very, very favorite artists of all time, and that is the members of the group Dead Can Dance. That poster is behind me. Dead Can Dance are an off and on project. They started in 1981 and continued on through I believe it was 1998, and didn't do anything outside of Dead Can Dance. Fantastic music project. Boy, I almost feel like I'm not qualified to talk about their music, because it is so different and so unusual, and I know a lot of people who follow my channel will probably be very interested and confused and wondering, what is this music that you keep going on about? I looked up various sources online of people how to describe the music of Dead Can Dance, and there's about 5 different things that sprung to mind, and maybe 4 of them that I actually agree with. I never really enjoyed people who call them gothic. I know the early work of Dead Can Dance is probably the more gothic of their entire catalog, but definitely not the way I would describe their music. Some other descriptions that I was reading about online that do make sense to me, and I would agree with, are African rhythms, Gaelic folk, Gregorian chanting, Middle Eastern influence, and art rock. So those probably do a little bit better job, and again, I am just almost feeling insecure and not qualified to talk about the music of Dead Can Dance, but it's all readily available. You can find it very easily and inexpensive on CD. The vinyl, if you want original copies, are getting harder to come by. But this video actually isn't going to be focusing on the music of Dead Can Dance. It's going to be focusing on the solo careers of the 2 primary members. It really was always just a duo, although back in '81 when they first formed it was a 4-piece, but that didn't last very long. But really it's always been 2 members of Dead Can Dance, and that is Lisa Gerrard and Brendan Perry. So what I want to do is, I guess, kind of work backwards a little bit and talk, or well, I guess you could say backwards or forwards, or however you want to look at it, and talk about the 2 members and the stuff that they put out besides Dead Can Dance. Dead Can Dance has reformed twice since they initially decided to part ways. Back in '98, they did a tour, I believe, in 2005. There was no new material to support that tour. It was just a reforming and a tour at that point. And then they reformed again in 2011 and put out a brand new album that was fantastic. I think it was one of the finest of their entire catalog. Well, I'm going to save most of my talking about Dead Can Dance for a future video. But what I really want to focus on is the 2 members. And, it's really, really tough. Like, where do you start? One has a lot of material, and one has very, very little. So I guess I'll start with the male, Brendan Perry, who has very little material really to talk about. Brendan Perry is the male voice of Dead Can Dance, and they've kind of split their time about 50-50 in the band between vocals. Very different musically, so it was a very odd combination from the beginning. Brendan sings in traditional English for the most part, and his songs are much more accessible. They're much, I wouldn't say mainstream, but they're probably a little bit more folk-oriented and rock-driven. There's more standardized instruments. It's very rhythmic, and unfortunately, his solo work and his solo output has been very, very minimal. In all the years, since 1998, when they really officially were no longer Dead Can Dance, he's really only put out 2 releases, and he doesn't have a lot of other supporting stuff that he's guested on or done any film scores. And when I get to the other member of Dead Can Dance, Lisa Gerrard, here in a little bit, she's got much, much more to talk about. So I'll get Brendan through his little catalog first. And it's only 2 records, but they are spectacular and wonderful. It starts with, well, I'll just give you just a tiny little bit of background. All this information is online. It's very, very accessible. Brendan was born in London, but he is of Irish descent. His parents are Irish, and he actually speaks somewhat with an Irish accent. So I know he must have lived at some point, or done, a lot of influence of the Irish accent, because he does speak with an Irish accent. But he was born in London, and I believe he's about 55 years old now. So just a fantastic vocalist, fantastic instrumentalist. I believe that he also does workshops once a year, or maybe every other year, currently focusing on different drums and rhythm sections, and he is really, really good at, he's a fabulous producer as well. So as far as solo albums go, there just isn't a tremendous amount to talk about. In 1999, a year after Dead Can Dance kind of called it quits for a while anyway, he released an album called Eye of the Hunter. And this is a great album. It was fantastic. It was very different from Dead Can Dance. It was very stripped down. It was very folk again. The songs are very slow and melodic. And he actually, probably the most famous and one of the best songs on the album is a cover song. It's a Tim Buckley cover song, I Must Have Been Blind. And it's just a really wonderful album. And part of the reason I wanted to focus on the solo careers of these guys today, Brendan Perry and Lisa Gerrard, is because I think a lot of people who know Dead Can Dance have not taken the time to seek out and listen to the solo stuff. And I don't want to generalize people. There probably are more experts than me that are going to watch this video and say, oh, you're missing a whole bunch and you don't seem to know what you're talking about. And that very well could be true, and I would love to hear from you, because as much as I've listened to this music and collected it through the years, I've been a fan since the very beginning in the early 80s of Dead Can Dance. They are a band that you need to study, and even the solo stuff. It's very intense music. It's powerful, so you can't just put it on and it's not background music whatsoever. You've really got to study it and listen to it, because it's intense, powerful stuff. So Eye of the Hunter, 1999, Brendan's first solo album. I'm very fortunate that I do have a copy of that on vinyl. This is hard to come by. I've only seen this once before, even online. Now, I don't check it often. There probably is other times it's there, but I know how rare this is on vinyl, and this is just an absolute mint copy of it. So I'm just so fortunate to have that, and I bought it, when it was new. So I only paid whatever the asking price was at the time. But now I know that it goes for large amounts of money. So I really, this is one of my prized possessions in all of Dead Can Dance and all of their solo stuff, discography that I have. This is really one that stands out as very valuable. And even if it wasn't, I love it. So it's just a real treat to have it. And then he went quiet for the longest time. Brendan didn't do anything. Apparently he was working on stuff, but he never released any music. So it was not a surprise, but it was a pleasant, I guess you could say pleasant surprise, when he did come out with a second album. A decade later, in 2009, he released a second album called Arc. And this was his first album outside of the 4AD label. Dead Can Dance, Lisa Gerrard, Brendan Perry, they've always been associated with the 4AD label. And they both have finally broken away from that and have no longer any association with that label. Lisa has her own record label. Brendan Perry went on to, I don't even see a label on this, to be honest with you. On this one it says Cooking Vinyl. So that may have been the distribution company, but I don't think it was a self-release, but it definitely was not 4AD when he released Arc in 2009. This was a very different album from Eye of the Hunter. This one is a little bit more varied. This one has more features as far as different rhythms. This one has a lot more guitar in it, and very, very accessible music on here. It's just a beautiful package. it's a wonderful CD, and this one is easy to find. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in his music, I'll put a link down to each one of these guys, a couple of samples of their music, because of copyright things, I don't want to, run the risk of this video not being able to be uploaded. So I'll just put links into a couple of their songs so you can check out how wonderful this album is. But 2009's Ark. And again, very lucky to have a vinyl copy of that. This one's not as rare. This one is kind of expensive, even when it was new, but it is pretty easy to find. You should be able to pick up a copy of Ark. And it's a really beautiful package. Again, just a very well-made vinyl. Sounds immaculate. And this one I do play a lot more because I'm not as scared as I am with the Eye of the Hunter that I'm gonna, wear the grooves out. But this one is a beautiful, beautiful album. So, unfortunately, that is it with Brendan Perry. His solo output has been very small. And, I'm sure hoping that he continues to make music, whether with Dead Can Dance or on his own. Whatever he decides to do is fine by me, because I'll be first in line to buy it. But at this moment in time, that is the only material I have to show you from Brendan Perry. But a wonderful musician, wonderful vocalist, lyricist, songwriter, producer, and instrumentalist. So please check him out. Now we'll move on to Lisa Gerrard, and Lisa is got a much, much deeper catalog to talk about. And, Lisa is what I was saying earlier, you have to really study it, and you have to listen to it, and you cannot just put it on and expect to get everything out of it. It takes multiple listens. It takes a lifetime, really, to quite understand all that she is about. And one of the reasons behind that is she doesn't she doesn't sing almost always. There are some exceptions where she does sing in English, but for the most part she sings in a language all her own. It's not any known language. It's made up words. I'm gonna read a quote that I took from her website about the way she describes her language and the way she sings. And I think I can't describe it any better than she does herself, so I'm just going to read this to you. I sing in a language from the heart. It is an invented language that I've had for a very long time. I believe I started singing at the age of 12, and roughly at that time, I believed I was singing to God when I sang in that language. So you can see that the intensity is there. When she sings, it's almost trance-like. Yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to see Dead Can Dance 3 times in concert, once in the 80s, and then on the 2005 reunion tour, and then in the 2011 tour I saw them here in Texas. And when you steady her and watch her sing, before she starts singing, she takes a big deep breath and closes her eyes and puts her hands together, or she places them on top of each other on some panel, and almost like she disappears. She goes into some trance-like state, and she can reproduce, note for note, the exact way the songs were recorded. So the language means something to her, but for the rest of it, it's open for interpretation. And I love it. It's just fantastic, because depending on your mood, you can put on any of these various releases and it takes you to a different place, and it lifts you up, or it supports whatever emotion you're going through, or whatever emotion you're trying to get at that time. It is a real labor of love when she sings. It is just like nothing else. And I know she's inspired many, many people with her voice and her songs. So I won't belabor the point, but I'm trying to convey to you through a video me just speaking to you, but the only way to really experience what I'm trying to say is to get on YouTube, buy her records, buy her CDs, get on her website, and well, there is one way too. You could get this DVD. This is a wonderful documentary called Sanctuary about some of the things I was trying to describe. Her singing style, the way she uses words to convey her messages, influences, just all about her. So I just couldn't recommend this greatly enough to those who are interested in kind of expanding your musical horizons a little bit, I guess you could say. This is not mainstream stuff. This is really for maybe more, I guess you could say, an acquired taste, but I could also say somebody who is interested in learning, because it is an education in a way to listen to somebody who puts so much heart and her entire being into every song. And you really see it when she is singing live. I mean, it's just a spectacular performance. It's not dancing, it's not theatrics, it's not fireworks and models and dancing, you know, of all the different pop stars of today. It's her voice, and it's all she needs. So anyway, I hope I'm doing it justice for the fans that are watching this video and know Lisa Gerrard. I hope I've done at least an adequate job of describing how her music has touched me through the years. So Lisa is born in Australia, Melbourne, Australia, and I think she's roughly around the same age as Brendan, maybe a little bit younger, but not much. And again, she was pretty much exclusive to Dead Can Dance up until '98, and then she started releasing. She released one album before they had officially broke up, before Dead Can Dance's first-time vinyl album, Spirit Chaser. She released an album called The Mirror Pool. This was in 1995, so you can see that there was still a little bit of time left before she had officially left. Well, I mean, they never really broke up. I think they just decided to do other things. And, you know, I still have hope, and I think a lot of people would like to see Dead Can Dance continue. But again, if it doesn't happen, there's a legacy behind it that doesn't matter. You know, I've got a lifetime of enjoyment already from their music, so... this was released in 1995, and it's a wonderful album. A lot of people still consider it her finest work. This is a true solo album. There's no collaboration in it. And many, many things I'm going to show you here today are collaborations of either film scores or partnerships on records, but this one was a pure solo album in 1995. I do have a vinyl copy of that. It was available, and I think that it wouldn't be terribly hard to find now on the secondary market. Just absolutely stunning piece of wax. I just cherish this album. I just couldn't ask for a better record. And you know, if you are only interested in one album from Lisa, this would be a great choice. And you know, what can I say? I'm just in love with her, voice. And there was a good single off of that album actually called "The Human Game." And I happen to have a physical copy of that from, she was still on 4AD at that time. They hadn't broke away from 4AD. So this is a single copy of The Human Game, which appears on The Mirror Pool from 1995. Well, you know, I guess I won't go, I'll go in chronological order, because she only has 4 pure solo albums, and then everything else is a collaboration of some sort. But I'll go in chronological order. In 1998, she released an album with, I may pronounce a lot of these names wrong because they're a little bit unique to an American, but I believe his name is Peter Bork. She released an album called Duality, and this is my personal favorite album that she's ever done, either with film score, solo work, collaboration, anything. This is her finest work. Unfortunately, there has never been a vinyl of this, so it's still on the 4AD label. I have no idea why they have never put this out on vinyl, but there never was a vinyl release of Duality. But this is a glorious, glorious piece of music. And I just, man, I don't even know what to say about it, because every song on here is just so fantastic. I really like this album in a way because it reminds me a little bit more of Dead Can Dance. There's a lot more rhythm, there's a lot more diversity. I think that this partnership with Peter, I guess it's Peter, I hope it's Peter, is, you know, due to time, I'm already at 19 minutes, I'm going to have to go quicker, but check out Duality. It's a wonderful album, and I pray that there will be a vinyl of it someday. Okay, so going in order again, I'm just going to plow through some of these because, again, I'm just going too long here on these videos. She started her film soundtrack work around this time. I think there was one prior to this that she did, but this was another collaboration she did with Peter Bork called The Insider. This was a film score that she did with this particular Michael Mann movie. I think it's Michael Mann. Yeah, Michael Mann. This had Russell Crowe and Al Pacino in this film. Never saw the film, to be honest with you. But if it's any as good as the the music in it, I think it would be wonderful. And then there was a big one. In, let's see, the year 2000, she and a gentleman by the name of Hans Zimmer, which a lot of you will know because he's one of the more prolific and greatest musical film composers of all time now. He was still maybe, I wouldn't say unknown, but he wasn't as famous as he is now 15 years later. Gladiator. This is a fantastic film score. The music of Gladiator, and Lisa collaborates on many songs. Some of these did appear on various other releases between the Mirror Pool and Duality, at least a little bit of it, but obviously Hans Zimmer has a great affection for Lisa Gerrard because he has used her a few different times to help him produce some film scores, and this film score actually won the Golden Globe for Best Original Score that year, in the year 2000. I don't think it won the Academy Award, but it should have. And I do, very luckily, have a vinyl copy of that as well. This one is now out of print, and it's a little harder to find. I believe most everyone has either seen or heard of the film Gladiator. It's an epic film, and I believe this did win the Academy Award for Best Film. Couldn't be 100% certain of that. I'd have to have done more research, unfortunately, but these are all numbered. This is a number 2676, I think. Yeah, and it's spectacular. This is music that you can put on and it takes you to another place, like I guess I could say for all of her work. So, just fantastic. One of my favorite film scores that she's done is a very small Australian independent film called Whale Rider. This is just a really, really wonderful film score that, I mean, I think she did have some assistance from a few other people on here, if I can read it, but primarily this is a solo album from Lisa Gerrard, and it was a real labor of love. You can see, or you can hear it in the music, because she composed all original music for this film, and it is just spectacular. Wonderful film, too. I actually own this on DVD, and I really love the film. It's very touching and moving, and I believe it takes place in New Zealand. I'm going by memory. It's either Australia or New Zealand. And just a wonderful film. So I couldn't... If you're not interested in listening to her music, at least watch this film and you'll hear her music throughout it, and you can kind of get a glimpse of what I'm saying about how it transports you to a different place. I do have a vinyl copy. Music on Vinyl put out a vinyl issue of that a number of years after the CD was released. And those, again, who know music on vinyl know the quality there. So this is a really wonderful vinyl copy of it. A lot of these other film scores she's done are collaborations. She did a film with, again, here comes names, Inio Morricone, a very popular... He's been around since the early 60s doing spaghetti westerns and all kinds of Italian films. And I love his work. I collect his records. And he's just so different and unique. You hear a song from him and you immediately know it's him. This is a film called Fateless. I believe this is in Dutch or Finnish or something. I'm not sure what language that is, but it actually says Fateless. And this was a collaboration that Lisa Gerrard did with Inio Morricone. So check that out. Very, very strong work there. Another favorite of mine is a collaboration. This is not a film score, but this is a collaboration she did with Patrick Cassidy. Hey, one I can pronounce. Called Immortal Memory. This is a combination album similar to Duality. And I love it when she finds the right partner. You know, when she did it with Brendan Perry for all those years, and Dead Can Dance, she did it with Peter Bork, and now she's doing it here with Patrick Cassidy. There's some magic that happens with her when she collaborates with our other male artist and does a, I guess a duo, you could say. This is a fine, fine piece of music, and I just would love to see more people go out and hunt this one down. Still on 4AD here, so we're still back in the beautiful artwork and some of the images that you guys will recognize who follow the 4AD label. Very minimal, but very beautiful. And I did have a single from that to show you too. This is, well, I guess it's not a single, I'm sorry, it's just a little mini LP version of that. I've had some of this stuff for so long that I can't possibly listen to it all, but I'm very pleased that I have it in my collection. And this is just 7 tracks. I guess it's more just a sampling maybe it was intended for radio stations, or I'm not sure what the intention was here, but it's just a mini version of the full album. And then came another solo record in, let's see, 2006. She did a solo record called The Silver Tree. And while this isn't my favorite record of hers, I think it could be my favorite artwork ever of any album of all time, to be honest with you, because it is so special. I'm going to show you the vinyl copy first, because look at that thing. I mean, you know, put it on pause and just steady the artwork on here. And I know the camera's not going to do it justice, but it is wonderful. Just spectacular artwork on here. And, you know, just so lucky to have that one. And I think this one is still fairly available. So I would strongly encourage you to hunt this one down. Great album again. I shouldn't be critical of any of her work. It's not, when I say it's not my favorite, it doesn't mean I don't like it. I love it, but it's just not as much love, I guess, as some of the other stuff. The Silver Tree. Spectacular. Okay, so I do have the CD copy. So, you know, if you don't find the vinyl, you could certainly get the CD. I'm sure very inexpensive. She actually has done 3, or I think there's actually one missing. I think there was actually a 4th album. I don't have everything from her. She's been very prolific through the years. She has 3 albums with another composer by the name of Klaus Schulze. And again, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing names wrong, but to me it sounds and reads like Klaus Schulze. I don't know much of his work other than the collaborations he's done with Lisa Gerrard. This is a double album called Farscape. Wonderful. Fantastic. Again, here's that same combination I'm talking about. Lisa with another male counterpart, and they seem to create magic together. And they also did a live, some of the tracks from Farscape are featured on here, as well as other things. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. Well, I guess I'll try. Rheingold? Don't know. That's probably wrong. I'm going to get butchered. I'm going to get eaten alive on some of these comments, I think, because of my poor pronunciation. But nevertheless, there it is. And it's just, again, a wonderful album. There's Miss Gerard there singing on right here. So, wonderful. He was part of the collaboration. I really thought this was a complete solo album, but apparently it is a collaboration between Lisa, who is mainly featured on this, and Klaus Schulze is also on this album called Black Opal. Again, none of these are on vinyl, never were, but I'm very fortunate that there's even a CD, because it is wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful artwork. You know, the notes, there's an inner booklet too, but for the sake of time I'll just kind of show you things quickly. But Black Opal is another fine release that I think just simply got overlooked. Not a lot of people talk about it, know about it. I've never seen it posted in the VC. Doesn't mean people don't have it, but you know, somehow it just doesn't get a lot of attention, but it sure deserves it because it's spectacular. Okay, then there was, oh, actually that Black Opal was a solo album. I'm sorry, my notes are a little bit mixed up. The other collaboration with Klaus Schulze is an album called Come Quietly, and that one does have his name on here. Again, another CD release only, but this was the one with Klaus Schulze, and this was the one in 2009. So you can see they must have a lot in common. They must have a lot of musical interest together, because they put out 4 albums together, and I just love them. I mean, it's just fantastic. So sorry for that earlier mix-up. We're almost at the end here. I've got a couple more things to show you. Here's another album called Departure. This one, I gotta be honest with you, I haven't heard as much, so I'm not going to be able to comment on any other collaborators on this one. It's really, really difficult to read it as well. Unfortunately, the coloring and the fonts, I just have a struggle reading it. I'll have to do some research online about Departum. This is called Departum. But if it's anything like her other work, I'm sure it's just wonderful. And this came out in 2010. So I admit that I need to spend more time with that one. It's just somehow just not made the CD player often enough. But one has recently come out in 2014 that I just absolutely love. And I'm saving it for almost last year because it is one of my favorite albums she's ever done. And it just came out this past year, and it's called Twilight Kingdom. Again, there's only a CD release of it, but she's really back to her old form on this one as far as I'm concerned. And it is just a stunner, just a beautiful, beautiful album. So this one is available for purchase from her website, so if you're interested in hunting this one down, it should be pretty accessible. Twilight Kingdom. And I'm not going through favorite songs, doing any kind of reviews, because it would just go on forever and ever, but I really would love to see more people get behind this music. And then finally, I just recently stumbled across this in a used bin, and I'm so happy that I did, because I never knew it existed. That there's this album that she collaborated on called Diaries of Hope, and there's a whole story behind it, and for the sake of time I just won't be able to get into it, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful piece of music. It's a 4-sided double album, and she's featured a lot on here. It's just wonderful. I put this on a few Sundays ago and played it all the way through, and it just made my entire day. It is so good. And I gotta believe if it was in the used bin in my local store, it's probably pretty easy to find elsewhere, but Lisa Gerrard is featured on this album, Diaries of Hope, and it's just a spectacular piece of work. Okay, so wow, I kind of feel like I've gone so fast, but yet we reached 31 minutes, and I probably did a very poor job of trying to describe and put my enthusiasm and love and heart behind how much this music has meant to me through the years. I will be doing a Dead Can Dance discography, showing all my various things at some point. I'll probably have to break it up into segments because there is so much. CD, vinyl, memorabilia, posters, everything, tour books, limited edition stuff. I've got a whole massive amount of things, so stay tuned for future updates on that one. Dead Can Dance, Lisa Gerrard, Brendan Perry. Check them out if you haven't, and if you're only familiar with Dead Can Dance, do yourself a favor and get behind some of this solo stuff, because it is just as spectacular as Dead Can Dance. Okay guys, thanks for sticking with me for another kind of long video. I'm sorry, but I always seem to have a lot to talk about, and I hope that you're getting something good out of these videos. I love doing them, and I hope you're enjoying watching. If you are, please hit the like button, leave me a comment, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to see you as part of my channel. So, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and spin some great tunes, guys. Take care. Bye now.